I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and this is a new batch of Famicom games that I got from Japan. All of these games were only $1. Now, of course, shipping is involved, but even with $6 shipping airmail from Japan to the United States, it still averages out to $2 a piece. So try finding NES games at any thrift or pawn or flea market for $2. Probably not going to happen. Of course, there is a language barrier involved with certain Japanese games. I think Dragon Ball Z is going to be a pretty good example of that because I can follow the anime well enough when it's dubbed or subtitled, but if it's just in Japanese with no subtitles, it's not always that easy to figure out what's going on. And now try taking that outside of the realm of the anime to a video game where there's no voices at all, and you've only got kanji text. So at first I thought, well, this looks like a Final Fantasy style game. You explore a dungeon, collect items. But then all of a sudden it came up to this menu, and I'm like, okay, what do I select here? What am I even selecting here? I've got no idea whatsoever. And then it switches over to a battle mode where the characters from Dragon Ball Z are facing off against each other. And I'm like, how do I attack? What do I do? It's just completely baffling to me. I'm sure there's an English patch that could solve this problem for me, and I'd be able to better understand what the heck is going on. But as it is right now, I'm kind of lost. So I'd say for $1, it was still worth it because it's actually a really cool looking card. It has a great label and a really fun design that a lot of NES and Famicom carts don't have. It's got rounded edges and grooves and a really big colorful label. So even though I don't have any idea how the heck to play this correctly, I'm not feeling that put out for only $1. So I think I can just say this one is my tribute to Geekdom 101 and my good friend Emperor Big D, because it's nice to have a Dragon Ball Z game for Famicom in my collection. Now is the point where somebody will point out that several Famicom games were actually Dragon Ball games that were localized, had character palette swaps, and names modified so that they would be for a US audience. And I'm sure that is the case because lots of Japanese games got completely remade into something else when they became American games. The Yo Noid game is a great example of that. It was nothing to do with Domino's Pizza when it first came out in Japan, so look up the history of that one if you like. Moving on, we have F1 Race, which was actually a game that I had on the Game Boy when I was very young. As some of you may have known from previous videos, that original Game Boy and all the games with it and the battery pack and the carrying case all got stolen. So I had to reacquire those games much later in life as an adult, but I was never even aware that it was actually a sequel to the original F1 Race on the Famicom until I picked up this cart for $1. I don't know if it's the most fun I've ever had for $1, but it's actually pretty damn good. You should probably pick this up if you've run out of NES games to buy and are looking for something new to add to your collection. It's very much like Pole Position. You're trying to get around the track in time to get a time bonus and keep going, avoiding the cars that you're passing along the way. This first track is just a circular oval, so it's not hugely challenging to navigate. You just have to time it and drift a little and brake when necessary or let up on the gas so that you don't wipe out or crash into another car. But if you've played Pole Position or pretty much any other arcade-style racing game from the 1980s, F1 Race shouldn't be hard to follow at all. As you can see, the second circuit there has a nice big twist in it, so that one will be a little bit more difficult to navigate, but I believe you all get the gist. There's no way to 4-player link this one like the Game Boy games, so it's just going to have to sit there as is in the top-loading NES with my Famicom adapter attached. I cannot hook anybody else up to that game, regretfully. I used to have a lot of fun doing that with Sir Crunch, though. He and I would play head-to-head F1 race when we were supposed to be building projects in shop class, but neither one of us gave a flying fuck about shop. So here's the next Japanese game that I picked up, Glory of Herakles. Some of you may know this game from a very famous JonTron video about Hercules video games, where every single character screams terrible things at Hercules and says they don't like him. They say things like, "Get out of my home," or "Go talk to a fisherman." It's like they don't even want this mighty god to be anywhere near them, which makes no sense to him or probably to anybody else playing these games. And this is another one of those lost in translation moments. If I had the English patch like JonTron probably was using for his video, this would all make more sense to me. But right now I'm just wandering in and out of homes with no translation for what I'm doing. And I'm sure somewhere around here there's a shop where I can buy items, but I'm at a loss. And everything is very squared off here. There's a very specific path you can follow to get from one area to the next. Kind of like Hyankyo Alien or that Onyago town I played in my last batch of Japanese games. There's a couple of paths that are too wide, but most are very narrow streets. So let's leave these narrow streets behind, shall we? Since I can't really do much without a patch, I'm just going to have to try the next game in the batch. So we'll pop this one out of the top loader. It was modded with AV out and all the caps replaced by my good friend Fixit Phil. Check him out, tinyurl.com/FixitPhilNE, short for Nebraska. Or you can find him on Facebook, the Fixit Phil group. If you like learning how to repair things, seeing videos from people in the group who are enthusiastic about doing mods or repairs or just retro gaming in general, it's a very nice group to be a part of. A lot of good friends in the Fixit Phil group. Now, Mach Rider at first looked like it was going to be a fairly straightforward racing type game, and then I realized I'm supposed to be shooting at things at the same time. So I started trying to figure out what I could shoot, and my bike kept exploding. Now, some of these things look like puddles or oil slicks, and I would think a bike could just hit them and maybe it would like lose speed or spin out, but no, that must be like nuclear glowing goo or something, because the moment my bike hits it, kaboom. Or maybe they're holes in the road, but they don't look like holes. And that's no fault of Phil's, because his mod work and cap work is excellent. So these obstacles that I'm hitting clearly must be potholes the size of an entire bike, or they must be just radioactive to the touch. That is the end, figuratively and literally. There are some interesting options there, like designing a course or doing a solo course or some sort of endurance course, but I feel like moving on because this is a batch of 6 Famicom games. I don't want to spend all day designing a course while I want to test the other games in the batch. So what's next? Here we have the Tower of Druaga, a very famous Namcot game, or Namco if you're in North America. This started out as an arcade game with some very arcane secrets in it. There are certain areas of each dungeon that you must walk over to reveal a secret item, and if you don't collect all of the secret items, you can't get to the final stage, so you really have to know what you're doing. And the way that you draw your sword to attack monsters is also really weird. You can't just draw your sword and hold it out and walk into them. For some reason, you have to draw your sword and then they have to walk towards you as you walk towards them. The timing on it is super annoying, and I can't do it successfully most of the time, and it just drives me up a wall. Not a literal wall in this game, but it's like I can see how this game is supposed to be fun because it's a dungeon and monsters and secrets. But see, right there, the monster walked into my blade, and I'm the one who died, not the monster. What kind of sense does that even make? Maybe if you played the original Tower of Duraga in the arcade, and you had arcade buttons that were mapped to each thing you should do, like, now you draw your shield, now you draw your sword. It all made perfect sense, but somehow, on an NES controller with no instructions, it's just dumb luck. Like, see there, I feel like I should have killed the monster because I was on the exact same horizontal line as the monster with my sword drawn. It wasn't above me, it wasn't below me. I walked right into it with my sword, and I was the one who died. But you collect the key, you get to the door, and hopefully you don't die, and hopefully you found the secret in each level. And if you do all those things correctly, you advance the game. I feel this is one of those games that you could really get good at with a lot of practice. And I'm not sure at $1 that I need to make the investment in getting really good at it. I think this is just one of those games I can pick up from time to time, get a little better at it each time, and move on. I don't feel like I need to devote a whole day to this. Nor do you, so we're moving on. Finally in this batch we have Vole Guard 2. What happened to Vole Guard 1? And for that matter, where did Leonard's Part 1 through 5 go? That's a shout out to the legendary Roots crew, for those who know. And this game is a very Scramble-esque, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. I'm dropping bombs at the same time I'm firing at the enemies on the screen. And it's got a little bit of a Gradius type of thing where you pick up power-ups. And also you can refuel, as you can see from the ship up there. Now, I'd say out of the 6, this one ranks in the middle in terms of playability. I think it's definitely more playable than Dragon Ball Z or Glory of Herakles, just based on the fact that all you have to do is fly and shoot. But at the same time, I feel like I'm missing something here because these patterns of enemies just repeat over and over again and never seem to change. So maybe I need to bomb something that I'm not bombing. Maybe I need to do something that I'm not doing. But they look the same, they fly the same, and their design is not super interesting to look at. I mean, we've got geometric shapes that just twist around and black and white blobs that just alternate between white and black. It feels like somebody decided, okay, let's make a shooter, but let's do it with as little time or effort as possible. So I wouldn't say this is a terrible game for $1, but I wouldn't say it's a great game for $1. I'll put it ahead of Mach Rider, but I won't put it ahead of F1 Race. I think F1 Race is the best out of the 6. So that's going to do it for this look at another batch of cheap and dirty Famicom games that you can import from pretty much any seller on eBay for a bargain price. Now, I'm not sponsored to say this, but I recommend Japan for you because they do combined shipping and they have a lot on offer pretty much at all times. So if you're looking for cheap Famicom games, that's who I'd go with. That's who I go with. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.